What's happening, family? It's Cat Sports again, back for another afternoon with my people. Now, as usual, before I get started, let me give a shout out to the JBT community. It's just boxing talk. We're a group of people that just love to talk boxing. And we're always looking for others to join us. And you don't have to have a podcast. The only requirement is you just have to love to talk boxing. That's all. That's all. Miss Cass, hashtag JBT. Salute. Welcome to another episode of Cass Sports the Box Dorian. This is the Wednesday afternoon edition. That's right, the old hump day edition. Halfway through the work week, you make it through today, the rest is downhill. And I'm back this Wednesday afternoon to talk some more boxing history. Because you know, if it's a weekday at 2 o'clock, it's the Box Story. Today, we're up to the war-torn 40s, okay? As you know, we're going straight through the decades. Started at the 20s, going all the way up through the 90s. Today, the war-torn 40s. And we're going to get on into it about 2:30. Just Do Boxing in the building. The voice of the streets. Coming up at 4 p.m. Salute to Just Do Boxing. Welcome to another episode of Cat Sports the Box Story. Yeah, we're going to talk about the 40s today. You see Joe Louis on the thumbnail. He was kind of used as a propaganda tool to get people to join the military around this time. You know, Joe Louis wasn't going out on no battlefield. He was kind of like a face to get people to sign up, you know. And he took a break from his boxing. Championship fights were actually suspended for like 3 or 4 years. But we're going to get into it in a little while. But yeah, there's Joe. And we're going to do the 50s tomorrow, Thursday. And Friday, we're going to take a break and do our weekly profile, which is Ricardo Lopez. And I was a little wrong there because I said Ricardo was the only man other than Joe Louis to be champion for an entire decade. But Ricardo wasn't the champion for the entire decade of the 90s because in late 98, he vacated his minimum weight belt, 105, to move up the junior flyweight, where in 99, he became champion there. So he had a few months break in between that. But he did rule the 90s, okay? He was a champion for the entire decade, except for a few months. When he vacated one belt, moved up, captured another one. Although he wasn't champion the entire decade, he missed a few months, he still ruled the 90s down there at 105, for sure. Yeah, but he wasn't champion the entire decade. Missed about a few months. If he hadn't vacated and moved up, he would have been. But Joe Louis is still the only man to ever do that, be champion for an entire decade. But like I said, Ricardo did rule the 90s at 105, and then at the end of the 90s, he became champion at 108 junior flyweight. Yeah. But we're going to find out all that about him on Friday. He's the profile this week. Because those guys down in those lower weight classes don't get the credit they deserve, man. Very competitive fights. And they got pop to get you out of there, too. Okay. Don't think you're going to see a lot of decisions and stuff down there because, hey, you see just as many stoppages as any other division. You know, they may weigh 105, 108, 112, but they get you up out of there. As a matter of fact, we got a good one coming up at 112 in a few months. Bam Rodriguez and Estrada. Is it Juan Francisco Estrada? Yeah. Bam is going up and trying to capture that belt. Well, he actually had it before at 115. Because Bam been campaigning at 112 as of late. That's where he just beat Sonny Edwards at. But he did campaign at 115 before. And the belt that Estrada had that Bam was going up to try to win from him was a belt that Bam actually had before. So, but yeah, I'm just saying, you see that fight, you'll see those guys in those lower weight classes don't mess up, don't play around, man. Okay, that's gonna be a good one. Bam Rodriguez and Juan Francisco Estrada. That's coming up. I forgot the exact date or month, but yeah, it's coming up. Man, I tell you, this 2024 is just coming in right where 2023 left off. It might be even better. It might be even better because we've been getting Thursday, Friday fights. We didn't get much of those last year. This weekend, I think, is Richardson Hitchens against somebody headlining the card, yeah. And then we're just a little under 3 weeks away from, a little over 2 weeks away from, let's see, 6:30, a little over 2 weeks away from Devin and Ryan, yeah. It's going off. A lot of people were saying that Ryan wasn't going to make it, we wasn't going to have it, but we're going to get it. Ryan's going to be ready, yeah. So yeah, we're getting that fight in a few weeks. This is a non-pro box week because that would have been tonight. Everybody catch that fire hashtag Let's Talk Fashion this morning? Yeah. I was kind of busy. I didn't catch the live portion, but hey, you can always watch the playback. You know how it is nowadays in this social media age. You don't miss anything because once it's out there, it's out there. You can always go out there and get it. Okay? Once it's out there, it's out there. But how's everybody doing this Wednesday hump day afternoon? Man, they say, my mother used to always say April showers bring May flowers, and we are definitely getting the April showers. The first 3 days of April, I don't know where everybody else is, but in Maryland, we've got rain every day. I was just out there a minute, coming down. So now, we better get those May flowers, because we definitely getting the April showers. Yeah. But yeah, we got the 40s today, the war-torn 40s. Yeah, the 30s. The 20s, everything was going so good. Boxing was the most popular it had ever been. When the 30s came in, we had the Depression. Kind of put a little damper on boxing. And then we got into the 40s. Now we got a world war. So, But we did get TV started broadcasting boxing in the 40s. So there were some positives in there too. But everybody, welcome to another episode of Cash Sports, the Box Story. Wait till about 2:30. Give a few more of my people time to get in here. Before we got Just Do Boxing, the voice of the streets. Well, we got Miss Cass. That's the executive vice president of Cash Sports and the brains behind this operation. Okay, Miss Cass. And I believe it's going to be next week. We're going to interview the vice president of Cash Sports, Miss Cass, hashtag JBT herself next week. Don't miss that. She wants the questions before the interview. I guess I'll go over them with her. Or should I? I don't know. I'll see what happens. But welcome aboard. I got another good one for you. Is everybody okay? This Wednesday afternoon, hump day. Getting close to another weekend of fights. Last week was great. We had 2 cards on Friday. We had a Saturday card. We was living large. We had pro box. We were living large as boxing fans last week. Can't get every week like that though. But hey, you can always pull up the old fights and look at them. I'm the looking at old fights king. I'm the looking at old fights king. Okay. I saw that Sugar Ray and Henry Armstrong fight yesterday. That was a good one. Until a few weeks ago, I never even knew they had fought. Sugar Ray Robinson and Henry Armstrong. I sure didn't. So if you know fight, that's a good one to pull up. And we had Joe Gans and who was it? I forgot who it was, but I couldn't get that one to come up. That was back like the 20s. Might have been before the 20s, but I couldn't get that one. Yeah. Bruce Gas, boxing, jazz, and more in the building. Salute to Bruce Gas, boxing, jazz, and more. Another historian. Bruce Gas is where the box historian goes to get his history. Yeah. Calls fights, as does Just Do Boxing. Yeah, I see I got some big guys supporting me, man. Just Do Boxing, Bruce Gas, boxing, jazz, and more. Bruce Gas was the winner of the inaugural Cast Sports History Contest. And he has received his prize. And I hope he's enjoyed it. Because he deserved it. He won. Hey. And I really hope he's enjoying it, man. Yeah. Bruce Gas, boxing, jazz, and more. Salute, my brother. Yeah, passing of the torch, Bruce Gas. Yup. Bruce Gas says that was known as the passing of the torch. Armstrong to Robinson. Yup. Told you. You like boxing history? Get on over there to Bruce Gas, boxing, jazz, and more. Yeah, that was the passing of the torch, Bruce Gas. You are 100% right. 1,000% right. We're going to start up in about 5 or 10 more minutes. More of my people are coming. They know about the 2:30 thing. Then if we run short, I got this thing on this guy that kind of boxed around the slavery times. Yeah, they had boxing during slavery too. They would go from plantation to plantation and box. And sometimes a slave could win his freedom through boxing. You know, went out there, made his master enough money, and shined against the champion of another plantation. Yeah, a slave could actually win his freedom through boxing. I got something on that if we run short, but yeah, we've been going right up to the limit in these things. So I always got something on standby though, because I'm going to take you right up to the void at 4 o'clock. Okay, and then I'm going over there to the voice too. I'm not staying there. Right? I'm not only going to take you up to the doorstep of the voice. I'm going through the door into the building when the voice start building, right? Because the voice builds over there. Just Do Boxing, and I'm going to be in the building for that build. Okay. JBT Network, part of the JBT. That's a fire organization, and if you don't know, you will know. You will know. Okay. Remo. Hashtag Let's Talk Fashion. Hashtag JBT. And you know it's Wednesday. So you know what happened at 10 a.m., right? Another fire episode of Remo. Hashtag Let's Talk Fashion. And Remo is putting it down over there, man. Got his own fashion line. www.richthreads.com. RICHE.THREADS.com. Yeah, I spelled it right because I got it written down right here in front of me. Yeah, I ain't gonna mess up, Remo. But salute to Remo. Hashtag Let's Talk Fashion. Hashtag JBT. Proud of that young brother for what he's doing over there, man. And guess what? He's part of the JBT. I told you, I just got finished telling you about that JBT. If you don't know, you will know. Okay? No doubt. And that's not going to take long. We got BN Boxing News talking about starting his channel back up. He used to have some fire insight at the end of fight, like a post-fight type thing, but he stopped. But he said he's coming back. I was asking him yesterday, is he ready for his spot in the lineup? Because we ready for one. We got some fire channels going on, and we got more coming. Okay. Hashtag JBT. It's just boxing talk. That's all. I just like the way Bill Knuckles said that, but I don't know what happened. He's back around, so And that bare knuckles, he knew that sport inside out. I had talked to him in depth about it, man. That would have been a fire addition to the network if he would have followed through with, because he knew it. Yeah. And we was looking forward to him joining and being a part of it, being a part of this organization, addressing that bare knuckle sport, because I didn't know anything about it. And maybe we can still get that going with. Yeah. He was spinning Jay Hardcore a couple of times, but I haven't talked to him yet. But I would like to. But Cass Sports, a box story. We're going to start in about 5 minutes, okay? On the war-torn 40s. Yeah. Just like I was just saying, the boxing was at its most popular in the 20s. And then we got into the 30s, the Depression came along, kind of put a little damper on it, but it was still going pretty good. But the pay went down and everything, you know, because the Depression affected every aspect of American life. Not just American life, many countries in the world. And then we get through the 30s, here comes World War II. And boxing actually suspended all championship fights for a few years, 2, 3, 4 years during that period. You know, Joe Louis was champion for the entire decade of the 40s, but he went a few years without fighting because he actually joined the army. He wasn't out there on no front lines in no wars. He was like a face to try. He was used to try to get people to enlist, in the military. And many boxers from their countries all over the world joined the military. You know, because it was a world war. It wasn't just the United States against Germany. It was a world war. But I'm a box historian. I'm not a historian into all that kind of World War II and stuff. I know a little about it when it comes to the boxing side of it, but you know, yeah. The boxing made it through it, and we get into the 50s tomorrow, going all the way up to the 90s. I don't usually come past the 90s into the 2000s because, like I always say, that just happened. That's not history, you know. Floyd and Manny and Bud and Earl. And, you know, like I always say, if I'm still doing this 40 years from now, then Bud, Floyd, Manny, Earl, the face of boxing, Tank, Canelo, Devin, then I'll be talking about them. You'll see slides of them up there on the screen because they'll be the old retired guys then, right? But that's what this is, boxing history. Because I'm the box story. Cass Sports, the box story. We're gonna get ready to get started on this boxing during the war-torn 40s. Okay, got some slides and stuff for you again today. You know I got that. Got them all in today. I don't think it is any kind of limit. Yesterday it was just something else going on because I got to like 30. It wouldn't let me put any more on there, but I got like almost 40 slides today. So yeah, we're gonna go through it. We're gonna do a brief history of boxing in the 40s, and then we're gonna look at some fights in the 40s and other significant events that happened during the decade. And finally, we're going to finish it up with a profile of 10 boxers that competed during the decade of the 40s. Okay? That's how we're going to do it today. Yeah. And we're getting ready to do it right now. I'm trying to get to the top of my slide presentation. Joe Louis in his army uniform should be first. Wow, I might have more than 40, damn. There's Joe Louis, okay. Start right there. But everybody this Wednesday afternoon, hump day. After today is all downhill. Getting up with some more fights Saturday. I think the card is headlined by Richardson Hitchens against somebody. I got it written down somewhere, but I'm not going to look for it right now. Mike Masick in the building. What's up, Mike Mason? Yeah. See, my people know. Get here about 2:30 because that's when the show starts. Let's salute to Mike Mason. Always good to see Mike in the building. big time JBT member and supporter. Okay. Salute, Mike Mason. Welcome to another episode of Cast Sports. MAZYCK. I still got to look at I should know how to spell your name by now, Mike. I still got to look at the name to see it. MAZYCK. You know, I write everybody's name down that comes in. We're going to have another contest eventually, too. Probably 2 months. Okay. Now, today is boxing in the war-torn 40s. Okay? You see Joe Louis on the... Let's drop the music a little bit. You see Joe Louis on the screen there. Like I was saying, he was kind of used as a base to get people to join the military because he was a very popular guy around that time. He was a current heavyweight champion of the world, right? And he joined the military. But, you know, Joe wasn't out there on no battlefield fighting, right? He was used as a tool to get others to join and help in the war effort. And a lot of other boxers, not just Joe Louis, from all over the world, because it was a world war, remember, joined the military and fought for their country and, you know, took a few years off from boxing. Joe did too. You know, he was champion throughout the 40s, but he didn't box for a few years. We'll talk about it. Let's get started. How's everybody today? That April showers, May flowers thing must be real because it's rained every day so far in May in Maryland. I don't know how it is where everybody else is at, but right here in Maryland where I live, we done had rain every day. Raining right now. As a matter of fact, there's Ace. Salute to Ace. Welcome to a Cast Sports to Box story and Ace. Today we are talking about boxing during the war-torn 40s. And we're getting ready to get started. We always start at 2:30. Give people time to get here. So, here we go. Now, boxing in the 1940s, in many ways, reflected worldwide events that affected other endeavors as well, right? Now, World War II was going on early in the decade of the 40s. And just like a lot of baseballers, because baseball was really like the biggest sport around that time, many boxers went overseas to fight for their country. And these were popular boxers, world champions, put their careers on hold to go fight the war. Like Joe Louis. Well, you know, Joe Louis didn't actually do any fighting, like I was saying. He was like a face to as a tool to get people to join the military. You know, not just boxing, right? Because Joe Louis was very popular. He was the heavyweight champion at the time. But other boxers like Billy Conn, Bojack, not Bomac, Bojack, man. And Bob Montgomery was just some of the names that joined the military and went to fight for their country. And, you know, not just the United States, because it was a world war. Boxers from all around the world put their careers on hold and went to join in the war effort. Okay? You know, like I was saying, Joe Louis was used to entice Americans to join the war against Germany. You know, had some propaganda movies starring Joe Louis and a lot of other propaganda tools, okay? And nowadays, the posters in particular are collector's items. Yeah. Now, remember Max Mellon, Joe Louis's rival from Germany? Now, he was a lifelong opponent of the Nazi regime in Germany. But check this out. After Joe Louis beat him, Hitler made him. He was forced to join the German military. Max Mellon. Yep. After he lost to Joe Louis, Hitler put him in the military over there in Germany. And Smelling was actually against the Nazis, okay? You know, and by the way, after their careers, him and Joe Louis became very close friends. He was actually a pallbearer at Joe Louis's funeral. Max Melling was, yeah. Yeah. Now, because of the war, like I was saying, many world championship divisions were frozen. Sometimes title fights was held for 5 years. Was held 5 years after the last one had been held in that division, right? Now, television was in its infancy in the 40s, but nonetheless, viewers were treated to many 10-round non-title fights, okay? Because remember, the championship fights were put on hold, but they still showed a lot of non-title fights. And many challengers, people that weren't champions, became household names because of the absence of so many world champions and fights. Now, the 40s did have some historic title fights and rivalries, like Sugar Ray Robinson and Jake LaMotta began their 6-fight series in the 40s. Remember that one? That's when that started, around 42, 43, somewhere in there. Well, that was towards the middle of the decade, 44, 45, but it began in the 40s, and they had 6 fights. Rocky Graziano and Tony Zale, they starred in what critics of boxing talk about as one of the fiercest rivalries in boxing history. One of the most destructive. And many boxing historians call it the greatest trilogy in boxing history. Rocky Graziano and Tony Zale. Now, of course, the heavyweight division was dominated by Joe Louis, right? He's the only man in history to be world champion throughout every year of a decade. Now, I know you say, well, Cass Sports, you said Ricardo Lopez was in the 90s. But see, what happened with Ricardo was champion from 90 to 98. Really 89 to 98. And then in 98, he vacated his minimum weight, 105 title. They moved up to junior flyweight. For a few months, he wasn't champion. But then he picked up the championship at junior flyweight. So he was champion for the entire decade, except for a few months. But he still ruled the decade. So Joe Louis is the only guy that was champion for an entire decade, only because Ricardo Lopez vacated a few months. He was champion for the entire decade, except for a few months. But you're going to hear more about him Friday, because he's the profile for this week, Ricardo Lopez. Okay? But the heavyweight division was ruled by Louis. He is the only man in history to be world champion throughout every year of a decade. Okay? Ricardo missed it by a few months. Joe Louis became champion in 1937 and kept the title until 49. Now, he did miss a few years during the war from competing, okay? But he was still champion during those years when he wasn't competing. Now, Jake LaMotta, I mentioned him and Sugar Ray. Now, he lost a highly controversial fight to Billy Conn in 1947. And LaMotta later testified that he threw the fight in order to earn a shot at the world middleweight champion, Marcel Cerdan. He testified before Congress in the early 60s. And his testimony was instrumental in bringing the mafia down in boxing. Yep, Jake LaMotta. Yeah. He said he really threw that fight to Billy Conn in order to get a title shot against the champion, Frenchman Marcel Cerdan. Well, let's talk a little bit about slow down, Cass. Let's talk a little more about World War II, the effect it had on boxing, okay? Now, the world was never the same after World War II, after the Germany Nazi Germany invaded Poland. That's what kicked it off. Nazi Germany invaded Poland in 1939. And the United States, we was in shock. Well, I wasn't. I wasn't there then. I wasn't born yet. I know I'm old, but I ain't that old. I wasn't born in those 40s. And the United States was in shock after the infamous bombing of Pearl Harbor. We all read about that in the history books coming through school. By Japan. That's what brought us in it. December 7th, 1941. Right? Now the country shifted its focus to the war effort. And like I was saying earlier, most title fights during the next 3 years were suspended. Okay? And I'm glad I wasn't born. That would have been torture. Imagine right now all the title fights get suspended for 3 years, man. Wow. We would probably go crazy. But that's what happened. It was a world war going on. And like I said earlier, many fighters, including Joe Louis, joined the military and contributed to the war effort, right? So, and remember, television stations took advantage of the low cost it took to broadcast boxing compared to the other sports, right? And even though it was during World War II at that time, because of the TV exposure, boxing became even more popular. It sure did. Yeah. Justin James in the building. Salute Justin James. Hashtag JBT. Welcome aboard, Justin. We're talking about boxing in the war-torn 40s today. Salute to Justin James, everybody. Okay. Now, boxing became really popular because of all the TV exposure it was getting, because boxing was cost a lot less to broadcast than the other sports. Okay. Now there was a group of guys, African American boxers in the 40s, called the Murderers Row. Okay, let's talk about them for a minute. Okay. Throughout much of the 40s, 8 African American boxers. Okay. Charles Burley. Charles Burley was thought to be the best of the bunch. He was ducked. They all were ducked, but Charles Burley was even ducked by the great Sugar Ray Robinson. But Charles Burley, Eddie Booker, Jack Chase, the Coco Kid, Burt Lytell, Lloyd Marshall, Aaron Wade, and Homer Williams. They were heavily avoided by many other prominent boxers of the era, like I said, including Sugar Ray Robinson himself, who avoided Charles Burley. Okay? Yes, he did. Burley was like a Roy Jones Boots type guy, man. Athletic, to do it all. To go in the ring and do things that boxers wasn't supposed to do and get away with because of his athleticism. Yeah. That type. But he was avoided, in the wrong era, They were known as the Murderers Row. 6 of them never received a title shot because of corrupt management and oftentimes their skin color. Instead, they had to fight each other just to stay active. Okay? Now, Lloyd Marshall, Coco Kid, Eddie Booker, and Charles Burley were eventually, those 4 are actually in the International Boxing Hall of Fame. Okay? Yeah. So they are in the International Boxing Hall of Fame, just fighting each other, not fighting all the great boxers. Just think if they would have been awarded title shots and the other prominent boxers would have fought them, they would be legendary, man. Their names would be big, probably just as big as Sugar Ray Robinson, Joe Louis, but they weren't given the opportunity. They weren't awarded the opportunity that they deserved. It's sad. The Murderers Row boxers. Now, the only title holders of the group was 2 of them. Jack Chase He had the California State Heavyweight title. And the California State title was pretty big because, you know, remember, we only had the NBA, National Boxing Association, and the New York State Athletic Commission. We didn't have all these sanctioning bodies. So, yeah, California State Heavyweight Championship was a pretty big deal back around that time. Okay. And Jack Chase and, who was the other one? They had two of them were champions. Eddie Booker. And Eddie Booker actually lost his belt to Chase because, you know, they had to fight each other just to stay active. Nobody else wouldn't fight them. They was that good, man. Yeah. Nobody would fight them. Jack Chase and Booker were the only champions of the group. Okay? So to sum up the decade of the 40s, I would say it was an especially interesting period in boxing history. It was filled with some outstanding legends whose legendary accomplishments have withstood the test of time. Okay? Especially these two. For starters, Joe Louis, the Brown Bomber. All you got to do is say his 12-year title reign with 25 consecutive title defenses, a record that still stands to this day. And when you talk about those 25 title defenses, like I always say, what makes it so amazing is what he did during those title defenses, you know. Of the 25, 23 of them were stoppages. Only 2 people went the distance with him, okay? And then 15 of the stoppages was inside of 5 rounds. 6 of them in the first round. And get this, he was fighting 5, 6, 7 times a year, man, during that time. That's how they did it back then. Sometimes, what's this, April? He would fight April, then he would fight May, okay? So that's what makes it so amazing. Not just the 25 straight title defenses, but what he was doing while inside of those title defenses, okay? Amazing. That's why I say Muhammad Ali is not the greatest. Joe Louis is the greatest, okay? Joe Louis is definitely the greatest. That's greatest type stuff there, man. You know, there's Lonnie Lee, Lonnie Lee hashtag JBT. And freestyle media. Sports is back again. Good to see you, bro. I like to see people make a return. Salute to Freestyle Media Sports, everybody. Back in the building. And welcome to another episode of Cast Sports. They call me the Boxtorian. That's a cross between historian, a boxing historian, that's what it is. Short version. You got to ask Thomas Hill, the mayor of YouTube, the entire definition, because he gave me a whole paragraph of stuff. I got it written down somewhere. But a boxing historian is a boxtorian. That can't be the only one. You got another one right in the chat, Bruce Gass. Boxing, Jazz, and more. Bruce Gass is a boxtorian. That's where I go to get my history. Okay? So salute to freestyle boxing. Freestyle media. And Lonnie Lee, hashtag JBT in the building. Freestyle Media Sport. Welcome back, Freestyle Media Sports. Okay, let's continue. Where was I? Did somebody tell me where I was? No, I know. Yeah. Joe Louis was one of the two. Was a lot of legendary fighters, but Joe Louis was one of the big two. You know who the other one was. Then you have Sugar Ray Robinson. He is widely viewed as the greatest boxer of all time, okay? And his heyday was mainly the 40s and 50s. But even if we exclude what he did during the 50s, his accomplishments in the 1940s alone was extraordinary and Hall of Fame worthy, just in that one decade. Because in the 1940s, Sugar Ray won over 100 fights, only lost once in the entire decade, okay? He had over 100 fights in the 40s and only lost once. Did you hear me? 100 fights in the 40s and only lost one of them. Now, he won the World Welterweight Championship in 1946. And he was undefeated against other welterweights, Okay. The one loss was against Jake LaMotta at middleweight. Remember, because Jake did beat him once. And now those 5 or 6 fights that Sugar Ray won from Jake is very misleading because it was a very competitive series of fights. Now you say Sugar Ray won 5 to 6. From the outside looking in, you might say, well, that was one-sided in Sugar Ray's favor. No, it was not. It could have very easily been 3-3 because a couple of those decisions were very questionable. But all 6 fights were competitive, and 5 out of 6 for Sugar Ray is very misleading. Okay. But yeah, he won over 100 fights in the 40s, lost 1, never beaten by a welterweight. You know, his one loss during that period was by a middleweight, Jake LaMotta. Okay. Now, it had to be amazing for the boxing fans like us who lived through that period and actually watched those 2 legends, Sugar Ray and Joe Louis, as they put their Hall of Fame careers together. Imagine living through that, watching that, man. That had to be amazing. Okay. So now, let's look at some of the fights and other significant events that happened in the 40s. Okay, take a look at that. Some of the fights and other significant events that happened during that decade. Okay, this is where the slide presentation comes. I appreciate everybody rocking with me. Thomas Hill, the mayor of YouTube Boxing, in the building. Only on film, man. I just imagine the people that lived through that and like, okay, well, who's fighting Saturday? Oh, Joe Louis. You know, that had to be amazing, man. Or who's next week? Oh, Sugar Ray fighting in 2 weeks. And you living through that, waiting for that to happen, man. That had to be crazy. Like getting ready to watch a tank fight. Had to put that in there. You know, I'm a tank guy, through and through. Yeah. Oh, man. Just bear with me for a minute. I had everything all set up and my big hand hit the thing and it's gone. But I get it back. But everybody okay? It's Wednesday, the hump day. After this, we going downhill. I guess the final, whatever we got coming up Saturday, the final press conference should be tomorrow, right? And then I think it's Richardson Hitchens Saturday. I forgot who he was fighting. Yeah, and we're 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks away from Devin and Ryan, right? We're gonna get it. A lot of people were doubting Ryan. You know, he wasn't gonna make it. He's crazy and all that kind of. He's a crazy marijuana smoking nut. But no, Ryan gonna make it. Ryan gonna make it. Personally, I would rather see Arnold Barboza. I think Arnold Barboza and Devin would be a much more competitive fight. You know? Yeah, I really do. Let's look at some of the fights, some significant events that happened during the decade of the 40s, okay? Start out with 1940. It's not going to be boring, I promise you. Okay? On March 1st, 1940, Henry Armstrong appeared to defeat middleweight champion Serafino Garcia after 10 rounds in LA, but the referee George Blake called the fight a draw. The referees was judging then. And guess what happened? Henry Armstrong was going on trying to win his 4th world title. And get this, he was already 3-division world champion at the same time. He was already champion in 3 other divisions at the time. Okay, and there was only 8 divisions going on then. He was trying to become champion in half of them. He would have been champion in half of them, and he appeared to win the fight, but somehow the referee called it a draw. But he still was champion in 3 other divisions at that time. Not former champion, not former 3-division champion. He was current 3-division champion. Okay, I think it was lightweight, featherweight, lightweight, and welterweight, because they didn't have the juniors and supers. I believe he was going for middleweight, right? But he didn't get it. That was March 1st, 1940. Okay. Then, on April 18th, 1940. I got all mixed up in my display yesterday, but I'm not going to let it happen today. Oh, man, I don't even know where I put my pen at. Oh, there it is. On April 18th, 1940, former middleweight champion Kid McCoy, 67, dies from an overdose of sleeping pills. That's Kid on the screen right there. Took an overdose. Okay. Then, October 4th, 1940. Here he is. Overwhelming underdog Fritzy Zivik ended the reign of Henry Armstrong, winning a 15-round decision in the welterweight title from Henry. Okay? Fritzy Zivik. Get over before a minute. I'm going to come down a little bit on the music. Okay? Then we're going to get back into it. Oh, yeah. Come on, move, thing. Got people waiting on me. There's the volume right there. That's why I wouldn't move. I didn't have the cursor on the arrow. Okay, we're going back. Okay. Yeah, Fritzy Zivik, he ended, he was the overwhelming underdog, but he beat the great Henry Armstrong on that day. Okay. Next up. That was October 4th, right? Let's go to 1941. Okay. On March the 21st, 1941, Joe Louis, in the last heavyweight fight scheduled, okay, for 20 rounds, knocked out Abe Simon in 13 rounds. So then they came down to 15 after that. But it was the last one scheduled for 20, and he didn't need the 20. They could have came on down to 15 before it because he got him out of there in 13. Then on April 4th, 1941, Lou Nova stopped Max Baer. After the fight, this Max Baer on the screen, he announced his retirement. Anybody watch the Beverly Hillbillies? That's actually Jeff Rowe's father, okay? Jeff Rowe is Max Baer Jr. You know, his real name is Max Baer. Yeah, it's actually his father right there. Yeah. BN Boxing News, the Rise Podcast in the building. BN Boxing News in the building. Salute. The Rise Podcast, the closer, 9 p.m. Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. on Sundays. Salute to the Rise Podcast. BN Boxing News, you start that channel up back yet. We waiting on you, bro. Okay? But salute to BN Boxing News in the building. Okay. Now, on May 23rd, 1941. Things moving slow. Joe Louis, nearly knocked out of the ring in the first round, comes back to floor Buddy Baer 3 times in the 6th. The last after the bell ends the round. Now, when Ansel Hoffman, Baer's manager, refuses to let Baer come out for the 7th round, referee Arthur Donovan disqualifies Baer, and Louis retained the title. Okay, I think that's Max Baer's brother. He actually looks more like Jeff Rowe than Max Baer, his father does. Anybody seen Jeff Rowe? Don't that look like him a little? Okay. June 18th, 1941. In one of boxing's classics, ex-light heavyweight champion Billy Conn, weighing just 169 pounds, outboxes, and in his prime, Joe Louis over 12 rounds, shocking him with a left hook to the jaw in the 12th. But then Conn made the mistake. He was winning the fight, but he elected to trade. That's him on the screen, Billy Conn. He knocked Louis down in the 12th, got overconfident, came out in the 13th and decided to stand in the middle and trade with Joe Louis, and Joe Louis knocked his ass out. Would have just kept boxing. We might not would have had them 25 straight Joe Louis title defenses in the 40s. This man was beating him on all three cards. He knocked Joe Louis down in the 12th, then he got overconfident, came out in the 13th, wanted to stand there and trade, and got knocked out. Billy Conn. On September 29th, 1941, changed. I'm on the wrong place. Okay. There he is. Joe Louis again. September 29th. July 29th, 1941. Wait a minute. Oh, September 29th. No wonder. Joe Louis knocks out Lou Nova in 6 rounds. It is his 7th successful defense for the year. That's what I was telling you. Everybody, look at those 25 straight title defenses. But the amazing thing is what he did inside of them. This fight here was the 7th fight of the year. The man was fighting 5, 6 times, 7 times a year. Still winning all those fights, man. Amazing. Just simply amazing. This fight here was the 7th time fighting in that year. Let's go to 1942. Okay? 1942. Let me come down some. I can go one more. Oh my goodness, what is that, man? Get off of there. There we go. I'm getting ready to lose y'all. Well, y'all's getting ready to lose me. Okay. We're going to 1942 now. January 9th, 1942. Like 8 days after the new year. Joe Louis knocks out Buddy Bayer in 1 round to defend his title. Okay. First fight of the year for Joe Louis. January 17th, 1942, Muhammad Ali was born. Cash Marcellus Clay in Louisville, Kentucky. Okay. March 27th, 1942, Joe Louis knocks out Abe Simon in 6 rounds. Now, this will be his last fight for more than 4 years. This is when he went and joined the military, right? And went into, well, he didn't fight in the war, but he was like a propaganda tool to get people to join. But he didn't fight for 4 years. He stepped away from the sport, okay? Yeah, that was his last fight, March 27th, 1942. On April 24th, Jack Blackburn, former lightweight contender who trained Joe Louis from the beginning of his career, passed away. Yeah, that's Jack right there. That was Jack and Joe Louis right there. Come on, guys. There he is, yeah. He passed away on April 24th, 1942. Joe Louis' original trainer. I don't know who he went to after that. I'll have to research that. On October 7th, 1942, Ray Robinson defeats Jake LaMotta in 10 rounds. And that was the beginning of the series. On October 2nd, 1942, first of their 6-fight series. Okay? Okay, 1943. February 5th, 1943, Jake LaMotta defeated Sugar Ray in 10 rounds. That was Sugar Ray's first loss as a professional in his 41st fight. He was 40-0. Jake gave him his first loss. There they go on the screen. That was the second fight. But guess what? 3 weeks later, they had their third fight. Okay, Sugar Ray won that one. 3 weeks later. Right? Still in Detroit, too, because I guess they both never left. Right? Yeah. Isn't that amazing? They fought the second and third fight 3 weeks apart. I believe it was on February 24th. Yep. Jake beat Sugar Ray on February 5th. 3 weeks later, Sugar Ray beat Jake in the third fight. Amazing. That's how they did it back then, though. They didn't play around. March 19th, 1943. Ex-lightweight champion Sammy Engert defeated featherweight champion Willie Pep in 10 rounds. That was Willie Pep's first loss in his 63rd fight. Willie Pep came in at 62-0. That's Sammy Engert on the screen. And he came out 62-1. Yep. That's the entire careers of 2 fighters. Nowadays, 62 fights. March 19th. 1943. That was March 19th, excuse me. I meant March 27th, 1943. Wait a minute. Yes. August 27th, 1943. Okay. Sugar Ray again. No, this is not Sugar Ray. Sugar Ray, that's Henry Armstrong. That was the Sugar Ray Henry Armstrong fight. Sugar Ray beat Henry. That's the one Bruce Gass said was the passing of the torch fight. Henry Armstrong on the screen, it was passing the torch to Sugar Ray. That was a great fight. If you're into watching old fights, that's a good one. 2 legends. On Box Story and Cat Sports all-time great best list, Sugar Ray was 1, Henry Armstrong was 3. Okay? Both of those are top 10 all time on anybody's top 10 list. So yeah, if you're into old fights, that's a good one to watch. That's Henry on the screen. Okay, let's go to 1944. Okay. On January 12th, 1944, that's my brother's birthday, future heavyweight champion Joe Frazier was born. Joe Frazier. January 12th, 1944. Joe Frazier was born. Okay? April 21st, 1944. Charlie Burley defeats Archie Moore, 10 rounds. Let's see, Charlie Burley was one of the murderous road fighters everybody avoided. That's him on the screen. Archie Moore was one of the few big names in that period that would fight. He fought a couple of them. Charlie Burley, Lord Marshall. Yeah, Archie Moore. Sugar Ray ducked this man right here. That's what I was talking about, was like Boots, Roy Jones before them. Just super athletic, to do things in the ring that boxers just ain't supposed to do, but he had the athleticism to get away with it. Charlie Burley did, ducked by the great Sugar Ray Robinson. He had to be a bad man, and Sugar Ray avoided him. And he did. On August 4th, 1944, Bojack, not Bo Matt, Bojack. That's Bojack on the screen. Bojack defeated Bob Montgomery in 10 rounds in the Garden, New York, non-title fight. Now, admission to the fight was through the sale of war bonds to help the war effort. And the live gate was a whopping $35,864,000. It all went to the war effort. Wow. $35,864,000. That was the gate. That's what they made off of that gate. Amazing. Okay, let's go to 1945, okay? And on April 18th, 1945, oh, I done messed up and lost my display again, man. Bear with me for a second. My big fingers. Damn. I should have Miss Cass in here changing the pages for me. Okay, I'm back. Where are we? 1945, right? Okay, let me fast forward to 45. It'd be a little job for my granddaughter to stand here and change everything for me. Here we back. Okay. 1945. April 18th. 1945. That's Ike Williams on the screen. Ike Williams knocked out Juan Zurita in 2 rounds in Mexico City to win the National Boxing Association lightweight title. That was the predecessor of the WBA. Now, they was in Mexico City and he knocked out a Mexican, right? To take his title. A hostile Mexican crowd chased Williams and his team from the ring without the belt. They said, you ain't getting this belt? And look at his complexion too now. You ain't getting this belt from our champion. They chased him and his trainers and everybody out of the ring. But I guess he got it eventually because he won the fight, right? that crowd said, nah, man. On May 21st, 1945, the Mongoose, Archie Moore, defeated Lord Marshall in 10 rounds. That was another of the murderous robots. I told you Archie Moore was one of the few big names of the era willing to fight him. And that fight was in Baltimore. Home to Face of Boxing, Tank Davis, Cass Sports, The Rise Podcast, Gregory Pat, I Serve 88. All great Baltimoreans. And that's where this fight was at. But Archie Moore was one of the few big names willing to fight any of the murderous road fighters back at the time. Like I told you, even the great Sugar Ray Robinson ducked. Okay? William Old School Rant in the building. Salute, bro. How are you? Got an old school 2 days straight, man. I'm living large over here. Yes, boy. What's up, old school? Welcome aboard, bro. We're up to the 40s today. I better get a move on, too, because I got to do these profiles of these 10 boxes. Oh, yeah. Hashtag Let's Talk Fashion was this morning. I'm thinking it was Tuesday. We're doing the preview today. That was yesterday. Okay, we're still in 1945 for the moment. That was the 21st, the Mongoose, right? It was May 21st, right? So September 28th, 1945. What happened? I'm going to get ready to tell you. What was it, September 27th? I thought September 28th. Oh, there we go. Okay, let's see. Let's see what the slide is. I done got a little messed up. That's who is that? In the first installment of boxing's greatest trilogy, Tony Zale floors Rocky Graciano in the first. Then he got floored and saved by the bell in the second. Despite taking a pounding, Zale, fighting with a broken right thumb, goes to the body and finally dropped Graciano for the count in the 6th round, winning the middleweight title. That was in the garden. Okay? I might have the wrong picture up there. Anyway, let's go to 1946. Where are you, 1946? Well, I done got way ahead, man. I'm in 1948. Okay, 1946, June 10th, 1946. Okay, all I gotta do is find Jack Johnson. There he is right there. Jack Johnson. On June 10th, 1946, former heavyweight champion Jack Johnson died from injuries suffered in a car accident in Raleigh, North Carolina. Okay, Jack Johnson passed away June 10th, 1946. Okay. Then on June 19th, 1946, in his first fight in 4 years, because remember in 42, he had left boxing for the war effort. Now 46, he's back. In his first fight in 4 years, Joe Louis knocked out Billy Conn in the 8th round in the Bronx. He retained his heavyweight title. So he's back. Okay. And like I said, he was champion for the entire decade, but he did miss 4 years during the war. Okay, he joined the military. Okay. Maybe somebody would have beat him during those 4 years, who knows? We'll never know. On July 25th, 1946, Willie Pep, that's one of my favorites from that period, in a non-title fight against Jackie Graves, he won the 3rd round on all judges' cards by feigning, bobbing, and weaving without throwing a single punch in the round. He went on to stop him 8 rounds, but he won the 3rd round, didn't throw a single punch during the round. But the guy couldn't hit him, you know? I guess he was the effective aggressor. I don't know. Neither one of them landed a punch. Willie didn't throw one, and the other guy couldn't catch up to him. Right? On September 27th, 1946, okay. In the first installment, oh, here we go. That wasn't even them, but I had got to hit it myself. This was the first fight between Tony Zale and Rocky Graziano. Okay. Graziano ended up, they both went down 3 times, but Zale finally ended up winning it. But they called this series the greatest trilogy of all time. Rocky Graziano and Tony Zale. Okay. Finally, on November 6, 1946, Sugar Ray again. Sugar Ray Robinson got knocked out in the 5th round. And he was out on his feet. But then he came back in round 9 and stopped Artie Levin. Okay? Ended up stopping him. He woke up in round 9. He was out on his feet in the 5th. Didn't wake up till the 9th round, and then he stopped Artie Levin in the 10th. He just moved around, stayed away, and took him a few rounds to get himself together, but he did it. Yeah. Let's go to 1947, a few more years ago. January 8th, 1947. Featherweight champion, Willie Pep again. Okay. Let's go back up here to Willie Pep. Right there. There's Willie Pep. Let me have a picture of him. He suffered a broken leg and fractured vertebrae in the New Jersey plane crash. Okay? Yeah, so he was out for a while. Willie was out for a while. March 17th, 1947. All right. In his professional debut, another one of my favorites, Rocky Marciano knocked out Lee Epperson in 3 rounds. That's not Lee Epperson, that's Joe Louis getting introduced to Susie Q right there. Old Joe Louis. Susie Q meet Joe Louis, Joe Louis meets Susie Q. That was the name of Rocky Marciano's right hand, Susie Q. Okay? Yeah. On June 17th, 1947. Where's our booker today? Well, anyway, on June 17th, 1947. In his first fight since he had those injuries in that plane crash, Willie Pep came back and got a 10-round decision over Victor Flores. Okay? I don't think that's Willie right there, but On June 24th, 1947, the Sugar Ray Robinson knocked Jimmy Dore out in 9 rounds to retain his welterweight title. Dore later died of head injuries suffered in the fight. Yeah, that's them right there. Yeah. It's boxing, you know what you're getting in for when you get in there, but hey, we still don't have to like it, but that's part of it. Okay. On November 14th, 1947, Billy Fox stopped Jake LaMotta. That might be Billy. Oh. That might be Billy Fox and Jake right there. Yeah, that's Billy Fox and Jake LaMotta right there. Okay. Billy Fox stopped Jake LaMotta. And later on, Jake admitted to having deliberately thrown that fight in exchange for a eventual shot at middleweight title, because the Mafia was controlling a lot of the championships and stuff at the time. Hardcore boxing news in the building. J Hardcore. Hashtag JBT, the creator of the JBT movement. What an idea he had. If they haven't heard of the JBT, they will hear. But salute to J Hardcore. Now, Jake LaMotta admitted to throwing this fight, and in the 60s, he testified before Congress, and his testimony was instrumental in getting the Mafia out of boxing. I don't know if they're all the way out, but the government went a long ways toward getting them out of it at that time in the early 60s, and Jake's testimony went a long ways to doing that. Okay, that's Jake on the right, by the way. And Jake's testimony went a long ways. But the Marford's out, but we still got the Bob father and Mauricio in them. So it might have been better off when the Marford was running it. I don't know. But where are we? We're almost done. We're going to do the profiles, okay? On December 5th, 1947, okay, Joe Louis, in the first and fourth round, squeaks by with a controversial split decision over Jersey Joe Walcott in the Garden to retain his title. It was very controversial. They say Jersey Joe definitely won that fight. Right? That's them. Let's go to 48 and 49. On June 25th, 1948, this is the 40s we up to now, Jay. We did the 20s Monday, 30s yesterday, and the 40s today. Okay. Some fights and significant events that happened during the decade. That's what we're doing. Then on June 25th, those two fought again. Let me go back. Joe Louis, he was down in the 3rd round. Then he come from behind and knocked Jersey Joe out in the 11th round in the Garden again to retain his title. So Jersey Joe was beating Joe Louis, outboxing Joe Louis on both occasions they fought. The first one went to the decision, and they say Jersey Joe got robbed. In the second one, Joe Louis got him up out of there. Didn't let that one go to the cards. Got him out of there in 11. But Jersey Joe was winning at the time of the stoppage. Yeah. Finally, 1949. Then we're going to look at 10 fighters that competed in the decade of the 40s. And on March 1st, 1949, after a record of 11 years, 8 months, Joe Louis retired, okay? And he should have stayed retired, but he came back and got stopped by Rocky in the 50s. But that was quite a run, man. 12 years almost. Champion for an entire decade. 25 consecutive title defenses. Like I always say, not just the 25 defenses. You got to look at what he did during the defenses, man. 23 of them were stoppages, 15 in the start of 5, 6 in the first round. While fighting 5, 6, 7 times a year, okay? So that's greatest type stuff there to me. So Louis is the greatest, man. Okay? But he retired March 1st, 1949. That's when the reign ended. And like I said, he should have stayed retired. But he didn't. I just showed you him meeting Suzy Q a little while ago up there. What Rocky Marciano did to him. Remember? Yeah. Looked all old and stuff. There it is right there, see? Suzy Q meets Joe Louis. Joe Louis meets Suzy Q. Look how old he looked. He should have stayed retired. But, you know, hey, easier said than done. So let's get back to this. Now, October 27th, 1949. Okay. En route to a rematch with Jake LaMotta, former middleweight champion Marcel Cerdan, that's Marcel on the screen, 32 years old, is killed along with his manager Joe Longman and 46 other people when his plane crashed in the Azores on the way from France, because he lived in France. He was from Frenchman, right? On his way back over here for his rematch with Jake LaMotta, the plane crashed, killed everybody, man. 32 years old. Finally, December 30th, 1949, The Rock knocks out Carmine Vengo in 6 rounds in the Garden. Vengo was critically injured during the fight, had underwent brain surgery. He survived, but he never fought again after that. Yeah, that's our sport, y'all. Hey, that's part of it. It's unfortunate, but you know, the guys know what they getting in for when they get in there, but it's still unfortunate that, you know, we get that. Let's look at 10 fighters that competed in the decade of the 40s, okay? But yeah, old school. Yes, Remo is going to start classes to teach you how to pause. Oh, Remo going to teach some pause classes? Okay. Remo. Yeah, the king of the casual hardcore, Remo. Give me a minute. We're going to talk about these 10 guys, just briefly. Tomorrow is the 50s, remember? And then we're going to take a break from the decades, pick them back up next week, because Friday is the profile. And it's going to be Ricardo Lopez. Now, remember, I've been saying that he was champion all the entire decade of the 90s. What happened was in 98, he vacated his belt at 105 and went up to 108. So he wasn't champion for a few months. And he, you know, he was champ 98. He vacated his belt. He got returned to championship status in 99 in another division, but he still ruled the decade down there. But he was champion the entire decade except for a few months. And if you're in here, Mr. Mayor, don't take my title or box story. Okay, he was champion the entire decade except for a few months. That's my one mistake for this year. Okay, oh, it might be the third one. Okay, let's go. Now, in the 40s was a great year for boxing. You know, we saw legends like Sugar Ray Robinson, Joe Louis, Willie Pep, and guess what? They was all in their prime during the 40s. So, hey, I didn't see them, but we see tape of them and stuff. But it had to be something, man. Like I was saying, you know, like today is Wednesday. You're like, who fighting Saturday? Joe Louis. Just imagine that, man. And then like, yeah, on April 20th, Sugar Ray fighting so-and-so. Man, that had to be amazing to live through that stuff, man. Wow. But we still got Tank fighting in June. So I guess that's how they felt when they waiting for Sugar Ray Joe Louis to fight, like we feel when Tank getting ready to fight. The face of boxing. Okay. Now, the first one on the profile is Renty Monahan. Irishman. You can talk about that name. He Irish, right? There's Renty. Is that Renty? No, that's not. There's Renty right there. Renty Monahan. Okay. Now, almost 3:30. I started at 2. I've been on here like 15 minutes and it's almost 3:30. There's no hour and a half. Definitely didn't go past. But Renty Monahan, right? Now, during his career, he won the National Boxing Association Flyweight Championship of the World. That's all we had was the National Boxing Association. We had the New York State Athletic Commission and the California Mexican Championship. They were pretty prestigious. We didn't have the WBC, IBF, all that nonsense. Well, not nonsense, but the way they operate is nonsense. But we didn't have them. So the National Boxing Association was the predecessor of the WBA. But Renty had the Flyweight Championship of the National Boxing Association. He had the EBU Championship of Europe. He had the British Empire, which is called the Commonwealth now, and the BBBC Flyweight Championship of Great Britain. Now, some names he beat was Dado Mono, Jackie Patterson, Terry Alien, Maurice Sanderon, and Ed Bunty Doran. Big names from that area down in around the lightweight division. Okay. Now Renty, he was a great boxer. He didn't have power, but he was brilliant, slick boxer. And he's one of the most loved boxers in the history of Ireland, Renty Monahan. Okay. Next fighter up, he'll just very brief, is the Mongoose, Archie Moore. The Mongoose. There he is on the screen, the Mongoose. Now, he debuted in the world rankings as a middleweight in the early 1940s, right? But by 1945, he had moved up to light heavyweight. And although he was continually passed over for a title shot, he remained a fixture in the 175-pound rankings, okay? He stayed in the rankings, but he couldn't get a title shot. You know how it was back, this is the 40s, right? Look at his complexion, so you know how it was. It is what it is, right? But they kept him in the rankings. Now, his championship years were in the 1950s. You probably hear a lot about him tomorrow too, because 50s was really when he did it. Really did his thing, Archie Moore. Okay. But that was only because the champions of the 40s wanted nothing to do with him, right? Because he could have been just as bad in the 40s as he was in the 50s if he would have got his shots he deserved. And that's why Archie Moore, he understood those Murderers Row guys. He was one of the only big name guys of that period that would fight the Murderers Row guys, because he was kind of like getting the same treatment to a lesser extent. So I see why he gave those guys their shots. He fought a couple of them, Now, some of the names he beat, Lord Marshall, Murderers Row fighter, Norman Homer, Lord Marshall and Homer Williams are Murderers Row fighters. And he lost to Charlie Burley, so he fought like 3 of them. Other guys, Lee Bivens, Oakland Billy Smith, Bob Satterfield, Leonard Morrow, and Harold Johnson. None of the champions was fighting until the 50s. Things started opening a little bit up for the African-American fighters in the 50s. Then the 60s, it was wide open. By then, Okay. But it is what it is. This was the 40s. That's how life was back then, You just crying over spilt milk, right? Okay. The next man is Bob Montgomery. That's Bob on the screen there. We're going to get it in. Okay. I can't hear my music. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to turn it down that low. I can't operate without the music. Now I hear that was somebody noise. They was okay. Doing some work outside. That's why I couldn't hear. It's good. I was wondering what happened all of a sudden. They doing something out there. That's some old big machine or something. What's going on? Now, that's better. It's back. If Jay in here, Jay know how I am about that music. I don't play. Okay. Bob Montgomery. Now, Bob best remembered for his clashes with Bojack. Again, not Bo Mack, Bojack. You saw him. They had 4 fights, and he had 2 battles with Ike Williams. Ike's on this list during his runs as lightweight as light heavyweight champion, right? I mean, lightweight champion, excuse me. Now, Montgomery fought at one of the best times to be a lightweight. You know, him, Bojack, and Ike Williams, they kind of make a murderous role of lightweight champions. And their fights they had are things of legend. So if you're, again, a person who like to watch old fights, Bob Montgomery versus Bojack, or Bob Montgomery versus Ike Williams, or Bojack versus Ike Williams. I'm gonna see if I can get Ant McQueen to break one of those down in the future too. I haven't seen Ant in a few days, by the way. Yeah, but those any combination of those three, Bob Montgomery, Bojack, and Ike Williams. And there's Bojack right there. There's Bojack. Yeah, he couldn't be Bojack, way too small. Hope everybody enjoying the show. I'm enjoying bringing it to you. Let's see what Old School talking about. Old School says, one day I need to go see my cousin who has the whole collection of reel-to-reel fights of the old days. My uncle had a whole wall with reel-to-reel fights. Yeah, I need to go see him too, Old School. Wow, that would be classic. You can pull some of them up. Some of them won't come up. I tried to get Joe Gantz and I believe it might have been Joe Lynch. I can't remember. It wouldn't come up. Okay. Yeah, but you can get some of those old fights. I get quite a few of them. Now, Bojack, he came onto the scene in 1942. Won 13 straight. 3 of them was against top 10 contenders. Out of his first 13 fights, 3 of them were against top 10 contenders. Wow. He stopped Tippy Larkin via 3rd round knockout in December 42 to get the New York State version of the lightweight title. Okay. Because see, we didn't have the big sanctioning bodies then, so a lot of states had titles, right? You had the California, New York State, Mexican, yeah. Because the only sanctioning bodies was really the NBA, the predecessor to the WBA, and the New York State Athletic Commission was like the sanctioning body, right? That was it. But he won the New York State version of the title, okay? That wasn't the New York State Athletic Commission. That was just New York State had a title too, okay? And in the May of that year, he lost to Bob Montgomery. Remember I was telling you, Bob Montgomery, Bojack, Ike Williams, any combination of those 3 are good fights to watch. But he lost to Montgomery because he fought Montgomery 5 times. In the rematch, he got the title back from Montgomery. Then he lost it again to Montgomery. So very evenly matched fight between those 2. Now they met in the Garden for the 4th and they met 4 times, excuse me. The 4th and last fight was in the Garden, right? And made history because Jack took a 10-round decision. It was a non-title fight. But that's the fight that had the $35 million gate for the war after going toward the war, remember? Proceeds went to the war I just told you about. That was that fight. That's how it made history. Made $35 million. Wow. Okay. Everybody smash on the appreciation button for me. Yeah. I appreciate it. Oh, how do I get back to there we go. Okay, a couple more to go. Next up is Manuel Ortiz. Yeah, we're gonna get it in. We got about 20 minutes. I'm gonna take you right up to the Voice's doorstep, but guess what? I'm going through the doorstep into the building. I'll be in there listening to the Voice because he's gonna build and build and build. That's how the Voice of the Streets does it. And it's that balanced boxing talk, man. You know what I mean? And JBT member. I told you. If they don't know about that JBT, they will know. Okay. But Manuel Ortiz. Okay. That's Manuel. No, that ain't Manuel. That's Ike Williams. What did you do, Cass? I went down too far. I don't know what I did. Man. That's Bob Montgomery. See, this thing got mixed up, man. I don't know where Manuel at. But yeah, we talking. Oh, there's Manuel. No, that's not Manuel. I don't know. Stay with me for a minute. I'm gonna find Manuel. I think that's him right there. They done got out of order some kind of way. There's Manuel. And well, Ortiz. I'm gonna have to jump back up to Ike because he's next. But anyway, he was in 23 title fights at bantamweight, right? Only lost 2 of them. And one of those guys he lost against, well, he was a dominant champion for 8 years, right? He was tough as nails. Never got stopped in his entire career. Well-balanced, technical fighter. But he was nasty inside, okay? He was slick and had a nasty inside game, okay? And one thing he had that gas tank, right? And good chin. So gas tank and chin keep you in any fight. Gas tank and chin. Now he had some of the same issues that Joe Louis had, where the competition was not great, right? But that wasn't his fault. He still dominated them. He did what he was supposed to do. But Ortiz, he could have competed in any decade at the bantamweight level, regardless of the competition, okay? Now I gotta go back and find Manuel got me all out of order and stuff. I had Ike on the screen just now, remember? Now what's happened to Ike? Oh my God, excuse me. Oh, bear with me. I don't know how that happened. There's Bojack. There's Ike. Back to Ike Williams. Ike Williams isn't it? That ain't Ike. That's Ezra Charles. Bear with me for one moment, please, everybody. I guess didn't I just have Ike on the screen? But it's all good. Forget what you heard. It's all good. I don't know what be going on with this thing, man. Well, Ike, we're just not gonna see you, Ike. I think I found him. I don't know how he got way up here. There he is. Ike Williams. Okay. Still got 20 minutes. Appreciate everybody sticking with me. Got Ace in the building. Good to see Ace. Been here a couple times. Hope you enjoyed the show, Ace. But Ike Williams, okay. Now, remember, Ike Williams, Bojack, Bob Montgomery, any combination of those three is a great old fight to watch. Now, he turned pro in 1940, right at the beginning of the decade, and established himself as a force to be reckoned with immediately. Beat Sammy Angat twice. Sammy Angat was a bad boy. Then a year later, he won the WBA yet, NBA championship with a second round knockout of Ron Zarita. Anybody familiar with that period around the 40s know about Ron Zarita? That's the one where he went down there and they got chased out, remember? That was the Ron Zarita fight. Remember I told you about they chased Ike and his team to the dressing room. Ike won the belt down there in Mexico, but they wouldn't let him get it. They chased him out of there. I guess he got it eventually. He beat the man, right? But the Mexican fans was mad. Okay. Anyway, he was on a roll after that, and he unified the lightweight title in 1947. Knocked out fellow Hall of Famer Bob Montgomery. I think Montgomery and Bojack fought 4 times. I think Ike and Montgomery fought twice. Ike knocked him out. He was the greatest lightweight, one of the greatest lightweights in boxing history. I ain't gonna say greatest. He had wins over, like I said, Sammy Angat, Kid Gavilan, Bob Montgomery, Johnny Bratton, Tippy Larkin, and Bojack. Those are some big names from that era. Next is Joe Louis. I see him, because I got all out of whack. Joe Louis. Can't talk about the 40s without mentioning Joe Louis. No way. Okay, appreciate you, Ace. I thank you for that. Appreciate it. Okay, Joe Louis is next. Now, we done already talked a lot about him, but anyway, he fought 18 times in the 40s, because remember, his reign started in the 30s. And he won every one of them. And remember, he took a 4-year break to join the military during the war. But he defeated Billy Conn twice, Arturo Godoy twice, Buddy Bayer, Jeff Rowe's uncle. Old school Buddy Bayer is Max Bayer's brother, right? Old school would know. Max Bayer is Jeff Rowe from the Beverly Hillbillies' father. I think Buddy is his uncle. Let me know, old school. And he beat Jersey Joe twice. One of them was very controversial, remember. But the second one, Jersey Joe was beating him again, outboxing Joe again, and Joe stopped him. You know, somebody just have your number. Jersey Joe might have had Joe Lewis's, but you know, Jersey Joe got careless in that 11th round and got stopped. But he was winning. You know, he was winning the fight. And the first time they said he beat Joe, but they gave it to Joe Louis. You know, he was on that streak in the 40s, and they couldn't have him lose. You know, that boxing. Boxing was like that back then, just like it is now, you know. But like I was saying a little while ago, his competition was not remarkable. But he fought who was out there. You can't blame him for that. He could only face who was there. And he beat him. He did what he's supposed to do, right? Avoided no one. Okay? Okay, next up. Winding down now. Ezzard Charles. Now I had Ezzard on here when I thought it was Ike, remember? Here's Ezzard. Ezzard was one of the baddest top light heavyweights in history. That's not Ezzard Charles. Boy, that's Bojack. I don't know how these things got all mixed up. Like, there's Ezzard Charles. That can't be Ezzard Charles. That's Joe Louis. Excuse me, y'all. It's got all messed up. There's a young Ezzard Charles right there. Couple more to go. We got 15 minutes before the voice of the streets takes over these airwaves. Ezzard Charles came out of Cincinnati. They call him the greatest fighter to come out of Cincinnati. That's where Adrian Broner from. Yeah, Ezzard was the greatest to come out of Cincinnati. Adrian, I don't know what he could have been, but he just didn't, you know, pan out to be that. And that's saying a lot, though, because Cincinnati got a lot of great people to come out of there. They call Charles the best. A lot of historians call him the greatest light heavyweight in history. That's including box story and Cass Sports, by the way. And a top 20 heavyweight also. Notable wins. Multiple wins over Archie Moore. He beat Murderers Row fighter Charlie Burley. Okay? And it doesn't stop there. Beat Jimmy Bivens, another Murderers Row guy, Lloyd Marshall, Elmer Ray, and Joey Maxson. Okay? Now, near the end of the 40s, he moved up to heavyweight, right? And he beat Jersey Joe Walker and became heavyweight champion. Now, here's one of my favorites there, Willie Pep. There's Willie right there. Willie Pep. There he is. Now, when you talk about defense and Floyd and Sweet Pea, you got to talk about that man in the same breath right there, Willie Pep, when it comes to defense. I told you, he won the whole round, didn't throw a punch. Just from defense, bobbing, feigning, weaving. And the man couldn't hit him. And he never threw a punch, but they gave him the round because I don't know why they didn't call it a draw. But yeah. One of the greatest defensive fighters ever, Willie Pep. Okay? He won his first 62 fights before he got lost. Before he lost, right? Then after that, he won 73 more. Okay. Now before his loss to Engert, he had won the World Featherweight Championship by beating Albert Chalky Wright in a 15-round decision, November 20th, 1942. Chalky Wright is a Hall of Famer. But on October 29th, 1948, He got knocked out by Sandy Saddler. That took some doing to stop Willie Pep. And Sandy Saddler, they fought like 4 times, right? I think Saddler won 3 out of the 4, but Pep got stopped at 1 time. Okay, him and Saddler was one of the most intense rivalries in boxing history. And you know, last who that got to be for the 40s? If it ain't Joe Louis, it's got to be that bad man right there. Sugar Ray. That's a young Sugar Ray. Okay, old school says Willie Pep wasn't. Yes, he was old school. Yeah, yes, he would. Everything except the kitchen sink. And you couldn't hit him old school. You could not hit Willie. That was the thing. Yeah. Okay, Sugar Ray. Most people consider him the greatest fighter of all time, including me. Probably the best of the 40s. Between him and Joe Louis. But there's a lot of good fighters in the 40s, in the prime, during that decade. He won, like I told you before, he won 40 fights before he had his first loss. That was to Jake LaMotta, remember? He won the welterweight title in 1946 over Tommy Bell, 15-round decision. And he lost, I was telling you, he only lost 1 fight during the decade, and that was to a middleweight, Jake LaMotta. He never lost to a welterweight. He got his losses when he moved up to middleweight, okay? Now, his most impressive wins were Kid Gavilan, Sammy Angut, Jake LaMotta. And I tell you, he beat Jake 5 out of 6 times, but that's very misleading because that series was a lot more competitive than that. Most people would say, well, Sugar Ray dominated and he won 5 out of 6, but no. It could have very easily been 3-3. A couple of those fights were very controversial. Yeah, I've seen all of them. A couple were very controversial. Very competitive series. But, you know, Jake LaMotta, Tommy Bell, Henry Armstrong, that's the one. If you like the old fight, you ever seen that one, old school? Sugar Ray versus Henry Armstrong. That's one you want to see. That's the one Bruce Gass said Henry Armstrong was passing the torch to Sugar Ray. In the Cash Sports all-time top 10 greatest, Sugar Ray is 1, Henry Armstrong is 3, sandwiched around Muhammad Ali. There you have it. Boxing in the war-torn 40s from Cash Sports. The box. Story. Okay. Tomorrow will be the 50s. And then Friday is the profile of the week. How come this thing won't go up? And guess why? Maybe it won't go up because it's at the top, Cass. Okay. That's a very good reason why it won't go up, ain't it? It's already at the top. You're boxing in the war-torn 40s. Up next on this JBT network is the voice of the streets. Just do boxing, okay? Bring you the balanced boxing talk. All right? And I'm honored to be a part of this JBT. Let me go through the lineup right quick. We got Jay Hardcore in the morning. Bring you that fire boxing talk. Starting the JBT day off. Lighting it on fire. Jay Hardcore starting it off. Then you got me, Cash Sports Set 2. All things boxing history. I hand it off to Just Do Boxing, the voice of the streets, bringing that balanced boxing talk. Then Jay Hardcore spins the block. He was in here. I don't know what he's doing here. He's supposed to be on the way around the block. I guess he took a break. But Jay Hardcore is back around the block by 8. Bring you some more fire boxing talk. And that Friday night hangout, man, you don't know what happens in there. But, you know, in the hangout, the 8 o'clock one, filing what you're having for dinner, breakfast, lunch, what you have for breakfast and lunch, what you're having for dinner. Yeah, that's the hangout. Always. Fire show. You don't know what we might talk about in there. That's at 8 o'clock. And then Jay Hardcore hands it off to the Mighty Rise podcast, The Closer, at 9. And remember, you might go in that joint and see both of the face of boxing coaches, Calvin Ford and Kenny Ellis, on any day. You ain't gonna find that nowhere else on YouTube, man. Just in the JBT. And if they don't know about it, they will know about it, okay? But I'm Cat Sports, the Boxtorian. And I appreciate everybody for rocking with me. I see I'm a growing young channel, and I see that each day more and more people are sticking with me. So I'm going. And we have another meeting Saturday at 1 o'clock. Everybody's welcome. Okay? Because we taking all ideas. We got some openings still yet to fill. Maybe you can fill one of those openings. So if you're not doing nothing Saturday, come by at 1 o'clock. You just get in touch with Jay Hardcore sometime that morning and get the link and come on in. Everybody's welcome. Yeah, I appreciate you, Ace. Glad you stopped by. I hope you enjoyed. I'm glad you enjoyed the show. Okay. Jay Hardcore, hashtag JBT. Old School, BN Boxing News, The Mighty Rise Podcast, The Closer. Freestyle Media Sports, Lonnie Lee, hashtag JBT. Justin James, hashtag JBT. Ace was in the building today. Mike Masick. Remo, hashtag Let's Talk Fashion, hashtag JBT. Bruce Gas, Boxing, Jazz, and more. That's where the Boxtorian goes to get his history, over there with Bruce Gas. Just Do Boxing, the voice of the streets, coming up in about 5 minutes. And Miss Cass, hashtag JBT. Executive Vice President of Cass Sports and the brains behind this operation. Couldn't do it without Miss Cass. And Miss Cass is going to be on here next week on an interview. He want the questions before the interview, but I don't know. I might give them to him. I might not. But anyway, I appreciate everybody, man. Another Cass Sports is going in the history books. But I'll be back tomorrow at 2 with the 50s. We're going on through these decades. But we're going to take a break Friday, and we're going to talk about Ricardo Lopez, who ruled the 90s. Now, I was wrong. He wasn't champion the entire decade because he vacated in 98. A few months later, he went up and won the championship at, he vacated 105 in 98. A few months later, he went up and won the championship in 99 at 108. So he wasn't champion for a few months during the decade, but he still ruled the decade, okay? But I appreciate everybody for rocking with my growing channel. We got Just Do Boxing, the voice, be on in a couple minutes. I'm going over there. Y'all not going to leave me here. I'm going to be over there with the voice of the streets, putting down that balanced boxing talk. He builds, and he builds, and he builds. I'll see y'all over there, okay? And then catch Jay Hardcore at 8, Rise Podcast, Cast at 9. Rise Podcast going to turn on the lights and close the door on the JBT day. And it starts all over with Jay Hardcore in the morning. Y'all know the deal. Everybody have a great day. But you ain't got rid of me yet. I'm going to see you in Just Do, the Hangout Rise Podcast, all the rest of the day. You can't get rid of Cass Sports that easy. But have a good day. Cass Sports, y'all.